Let's begin. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me in today's ADU1 webinar and Q&A session. Today, we are going to go over some of the basics in case you're just joining us for the first time or would like to be refreshed. We're going to go over some of the general rules, how many ADUs you're able to add to your property. I'll mainly focus on multifamily, but I can add a little bit of single family residence ADU stuff as well, just in case that applies to you. We'll also go into what our typical costs look like. And of course, they do vary, but we can at least talk a little bit about that. I'll go over some ROI potential for your properties, for units, market rents, the trends that we've been seeing. The general rules as well for how many ADUs you can put, where they can go, and what recent city departments have been allowing or not allowing. And something new that I'm also going to go over that applies to most apartment buildings with 3 units or more is the new Senate Bill 721, I believe, that does require inspections and, of course, any corrections done if the inspection shows for all properties that have balconies, walkways, decks, anything like that. So that applies, and we're also including kind of a special with our ADU packages. Hello, Paige. Thank you for joining us. Feel free, again, everybody, to ask any questions you have in the live chat. I'll look over every now and then and hopefully be able to answer. And we can coordinate via email or a phone call or Zoom or anything like that. And I can get you some specific feasibility, sizing, stuff like that too. So we're here to help with whatever your questions. I'll do my best to get it all in today's webinar. Thank you, Kathy. Welcome from Sherman Oaks. Yeah, so again, thank all of you guys for being here. Let's get started. So as you may or may not know, California recently passed a lot of new laws in 2020, allowing for the addition of accessory dwelling units, ADUs, in multifamily properties. This is an amazing opportunity for landlords and multifamily property owners who already have their building and piece of land to increase their monthly income, and you're helping the housing shortage in California at the same time. So we love this idea because it's the coolest way, I guess, in the construction world to increase housing, add income, kind of everybody wins in this situation. So we're really happy to be a part of it. And this is statewide, all of California, and they have required that all cities follow this. And the cities can either create their own individual ordinance with their own set of rules within the state's parameters, or they can just follow the state's general rules and guidelines. Most cities have developed their own ordinance, or they are working on it at this time. So luckily, we're able to view and read every specific jurisdiction's ordinance, see what differences they have, if any, with the state. But again, this is statewide that you're allowed to do this. It's not only permitted for single-family residences anymore. So the general rules that apply for multifamily properties, you are allowed to create or add up to 25% of your current number of units as attached ADUs. For attached, or what's considered attached for multifamily properties, is within the existing footprint of your building, not adding square footage to it or attaching new construction to it. No city or the state allows that, or at least on an individual city level, they are only allowing you in the attached definition to create up to 25%, and that's within the existing footprint of your building. So that's using spaces such as tuck under parking, which is I can get into afterwards, how we're able to incorporate, if you have seismic retrofit requirements, how you're able to tackle both the seismic retrofitting and adding ADUs at the same time. So you can use the tuck under parking, which if you're not familiar with, those are the ground floor parking. You'd typically see existing pipe columns that seem to be carrying the building. Those have, in the seismic retrofit world, have been deemed vulnerable and unsafe in the event of an earthquake. So property owners with these style, dingbat style properties built typically prior to like 1978 or January 1979, have to seismic retrofit these properties. When putting an ADU there, we can incorporate those elements at the same time, and it would enclose the tuck under region and create a new unit at the same time while also retrofitting. You can also, under the attached ADUs, if there's an attached garage, not necessarily the tuck under, any existing storage rooms, recreational rooms, basements, attics, passageways. Those are just some examples of already there existing footprint of the building. You're not adding square footage, you are just converting that space. So those are the spaces that are allowed up to 25%. So if you have a building that's 1 to 7 units, you can do 1 ADU. So this even works for duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, all the way up. There isn't a cap, especially for these attached, as long as it's within. Los Angeles specifically actually allows you, we have not seen a cap on square footage when doing internal conversions. If the space is already there and exists, you can use all of that space if you wanted, or you could divide it if you have more units and are allowed more. Paige is asking if she has a 4-unit building. So in this example of 4 units, you're allowed up to 1 attached, so that the existing space has to be there. There has to either be tuck under parking, an attached garage, storage room, rec room, a basement, and you could do 1 attached unit there, which now kind of helps transition into the other allowance, which is for most, if not all, properties can do up to 2 detached ADUs. These detached ADUs are separate from the primary building, and they can also be conversions of detached structures that already exist, such as carports, detached garages, sheds, or they can be brand new construction on the land. So again, with regards to Paige's question, for your 4-unit building, what you're allowed to do is up to 1 attached ADU within the footprint and up to 2 detached units, space permitting. So what happens with the detached units and the rules that apply to those in regards to setbacks is, if you are converting an existing structure that's already there, let's say a carport or a detached garage, if you are just converting it as is to 1 unit, you can leave its footprint. In our case, we would either reinforce what's already there if needed. Of course, we have to get it up to code, waterproofing. We'll check out its foundation, see if it needs a new slab. We'd get it up to code and just convert it as is, and you can leave the footprint as is. It gets a little tricky, at least in LA, from what we've been dealing with, is if you're building on top or if you're doing 2 units. So all new construction has to follow setbacks. So if you're building on top of a garage or carport, the new construction has to be 4 feet from side setbacks, 4 feet from rear setbacks, as well as typically 6 feet away from the primary structure. So sometimes you lose a little bit of square footage when building on top However, with the 4 feet that we may lose, usually on the rear setback, we can cantilever over about, I think, 3.5 feet without needing new beams or anything like that. So you get a little bit of that square footage back when the second floor can cantilever over the garage or whichever side. But you do lose a little bit of square footage when building on top or adding to the existing structure. So all new construction has to follow setbacks. And what we've also been experiencing now is, let's say you have a large carport and it has, let's say it's 1,000 square feet and you want to maximize your 2 detached. If you put 2 units inside, you also have to now make that existing structure follow setbacks. And this is in Los Angeles. We'll see what other cities have been doing, but the cities have kind of been, they're all figuring this out as they go, because again, this is very, very new. In regards to Kathy's question, yes, you can. Can you build on top of an existing pool? We have already gotten the green light from many city departments, because a pool isn't necessary and it is on your lot and land. You can fill it. And then, of course, what would need to be done is, if we're building on top of it, we would fill it, but then also have to do whatever foundation work is necessary to now create the foundation that can carry the unit or units. And in regards to your 10-unit building, following the 25% rule, space permitting, you can do up to 2 attached. So if your 10-unit building has tuck under or an attached garage, attached parking, storage, or anything like that, you can do up to 2 units there. So that kind of covers it for the general rules, the up to 25% rule and the up to 2 detached rule. Something else, though, to add with what we've been seeing in regards to the up to 2 detached, which is also a little funky with the law. They say if you can use a garage or carport, nor does the parking have to be replaced, but they're not allowing you to just directly build on an open parking lot. So I guess that's a no for these city departments. So what we have been proposing is then a 2-story structure, preserving parking underneath on the ground floor, and the unit is on the top. And then regard to Paige, technically, yes, she's asking, can I replace my 4-car garage with a 2x2 level totaling 1,200 square foot each? From my understanding, I believe you're asking if you can have dwelling on the bottom and dwelling on the top. Yes, you can do that also. The only, I wouldn't say issue, but the only kind of creative way we would be handling that for other cities, at least in Los Angeles, or if they don't allow more, there's a 16-foot height limit. So that's how some cities, we're unsure why they said 16 feet. Of course, they're following the state law, but that's at least just a minimum that the state law has put. 16 feet when following the minimums for each floor, which you'd want at least 8 feet ceiling height for living space. A garage doesn't have to be, I believe it's 7 or 7.5 feet, but then you also have to keep in mind the subfloor and all of that stuff in between is going to take at least a foot. So what our engineer is able to design, sometimes we may have to go below grade level. So if you're going to put a unit down there, it would kind of be steps, a couple of steps to that ground floor and to the main door, because they count the 16 feet from grade to the height, typically the top plate. So that's the 16 feet. So if we have a couple feet over here, kind of stepping down into the first floor, we can account for the 16 feet. Or if it's parking, if we can just reduce it to like a 7-foot clearance, that may give enough height. And then another thing, if you're only doing one unit above the carports, they're allowing higher. I believe it's up to 24 feet. So if you just wanted to put one unit on the carport, we're fine. Most likely don't have to do any of the grading. But when you want to capitalize on 2 units, they get strict about height limits as well as the setbacks. So just reading Kathy's here, if you build new construction, do you have to bring the existing electrical and plumbing or any common areas up to today's code? With regards to the ADU, the plumbing, I believe, has to be connected to the main sewer line, so we would have to do that. Electrical, you may have to upgrade your existing panel. If it's 100 amps, it probably won't work to carry an ADU. So you may have to upgrade your existing panel to at least 200 amps to support the new ADU. And then Paige is asking about a deck. So a deck, if it were to be on all above that, we would have to check. It might not be allowed given the 16 feet. If you wanted a deck on maybe the second floor, you could, but I think the rule is that if it's covered, it would take away from your allowed square footage. So that one would really be specific to the property that we'd have to take a look at, Paige. So let's see the next stuff. So I guess, okay, we covered the general rules, some height limits, the numbers that you're allowed to do. Let's get, of course, to these $1 million questions of costs. So the costs do vary. Our cost right now, there has been a surge in prices for materials, lumber, steel, concrete. Everything has really gone up. We're doing our best to keep the prices as reasonable as possible to get everybody a good ROI, of course. When it comes to, let's say, tuck under, and you also need to do the retrofitting, you'll see it, the baseline has been around 300 a square foot. And that's because we also include all of the plumbing work that needs to go on. We're also licensed plumbers as well as licensed general contractors. We include your finishes, flooring, cabinets, countertops, the bathroom, everything like that, to get you basically the keys in your hand. The items that are not included for us are all city fees, permits, plan checks, any impact fees as well. What we've been seeing as far as ballpark goes, in Southern California, these permit and plan check fees that include impact fees, school fees, parks and rec, stuff like that, have been around $12,000 to $15,000. And that is because it's new development, you're building, you are creating housing. So a lot of fees get tacked on, as well as plan check permit. The plan check applies to not only the structural plans, but the MEP portion, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans, which we do, also have plan checks. So again, about 12 to 15,000 for those fees. We start at around 300 square foot. New construction detached are going to go above there. If you're adding in seismic retrofitting, we'll do our best to see if we can just incorporate that in the price, or just have that added. But no matter what, from what I've been seeing and calculating, since with our proposals, we do a market analysis, rent comps, we give you a breakdown of the GRM for the proposed unit, your ROI for the proposed unit. We've still been seeing excellent numbers. We aim at least 12% annual ROI. So no matter what, you're making money regardless, and you'll make back your money in a certain amount of years, and then it's all profit from there. And we can also pair you with financing. We work with an awesome financial broker who can pair you with certain financing to fit your needs. And of course, we're aiming at your return, your monthly return, to hopefully be at, or if not more than what your financing would be, so you can make money right away. So it's a great opportunity that we're really trying to kind of make possible for everybody financially. And so let's see. It's in terms of market rents. I mean, you'd be surprised. I haven't really seen anything below $1,200, and that's for the smallest unit. Depending on what city you're in, it's going to get much higher. And again, these are brand new units that you're getting. Brand new floors, countertops, brand new plumbing, brand new bathroom, brand new kitchen, everything. So you're going to be able to get market rent for these units. Let me see. Paige is asking to do an MMP. What are you referring to, Paige? Is that the MEP? If it is in regards to the plans, if it's regarding the plans, then yes, you have to incorporate that. But if it's for something else, please let me know. Another question we often get is regards to the parking. So the general rule is if you are using then just to jump in, the needs and method plan, yes, and we cover that. We handle the needs and methods plans or the THP, for which some cities call it the tenant habitability plan. We take care of all of that paperwork for you and work with the housing department on those for the tenants. And they won't have to move or anything like that. You won't have to find other housing for them. But anyways, back to the other question regarding parking. If you are using a garage, carport, or tuck under, you do not have to replace parking or add additional parking if your property is within a half mile of public transit. I have yet to see any property that we are either working on or submitted proposals for that is not within a half mile of public transit. And this could be a bus stop, ride share, the BART, whatever it is, a train, the subway, then you do not have to replace or add parking. If you are going to be using parking spots that are in the lease for any of your tenants, including rent-controlled units, the rule is you must give at least 30 days notice to this change in the lease, which is the reduction of parking, and you have to offer them a discount in their rent. Especially for rent control, this is important because if you do not provide that discount, it's the equivalent of raising their rent since you're removing one of their amenities but keeping the rent the same. So you have to give a reduction in their rent, which under the housing department's suggestion is anywhere between $50 and $200. It really depends on how many spots you're taking, the density of the area, difficulty of finding replacement parking. So 30-day notice with a reduction of their rent. And from what we've been hearing with our clients who are in that phase, working with their tenants, it's been going relatively okay. So the tenants have been accepting of it. And if they're not and do not reach an agreement, I feel just to have good faith, it would be okay to allow them to break their lease if they need to find a place with parking. And then they can find another place with the parking that suits them. And then you're able, if needed, to maybe remodel that existing unit and then potentially get market rent out of that one and the ADUs also. So then the old tenant's happy, they can find their own place without any issues of breaking the lease. They can get the parking they need. And then now you have the old unit to maybe update if needed, get market rent as well as the ADUs. So Kathy is asking, what's the minimum footprint? Have you seen any special assessments from the assessor yet? If you were regarding maybe the minimum allowance for the ADUs, which we didn't cover, in LA and most cities in the state is 150 square feet minimum that you can do. Some cities say 220 square feet. As far as special assessments, I'm not really too familiar with that. What I do know as far as what assessors or at least appraisers have been doing is if you're going to eventually sell the property, and this is more for the single family residence world, it helps if there have been recent nearby sales with ADUs. That's how you'll get top dollar for it. But regarding multifamily properties, It's actually excellent because they do it by your rental income, which is now going to be more regardless from these new units. Paige is also asking, if we make the ADU smaller, can we get out of impact fees? There are some impact fees that you do not have to pay, I believe, if it's less than 750 square feet. It doesn't apply to all of them, but some do. You're able to get out of if your unit is 750 under 750 square feet. And the general rule for maximum is 1,200 square feet for ADUs. This goes for single family homes, detached units, excuse me, as well as multifamily, except in LA, where if it's attached and already existing as part of the footprint, there isn't a maximum. And then I believe for single family homes, if it's attached, it's 1,200 square feet or up to 50% of the square footage of the home, whichever is less, I believe. So I think if you have an 800 square foot house, I don't think they would allow a 1,200 square foot attached unit as an ADU there. And Elizabeth is asking, maximum attached ADUs, a 30 unit building, divide by 4, so 5 to 6, 7, you would be allowed up to 7 attached ADUs on a 30 unit building, of course, space permitting. If it's in LA or anywhere else, let's even say even if it's 220 square feet, if you could fit 7 220 square foot units, then you could do that. So it's up to you on what you feel would maximize your income. Some people, don't want to work with micro units. They only want 2-bedroom units, for example. So of course you wouldn't be able to do the 7 if there wasn't enough space for 7 2-bedroom units. Some people only want studios. That's a hot market in their area. So it really depends. But for a 30 unit, you can do up to 7 attached, space permitting. And then let's see. Lastly, as I promised, I want to at least just briefly discuss the new Senate bill, SB 721, because that does apply to multifamily properties with 3 or more units. So if you have a multifamily property with 3 or more units that has any balconies, decks, exterior walkways, bridges, anything like that, California, the state, is requiring that you have an inspection on all of those, what's called exterior elevated elements, triple E. You have to get those inspected every 6 years. And the next deadline, I think, is coming up January 2025 to get that inspection done and submitted. For all of those exterior elevated elements. You have to make sure the waterproofing, that everything is safe and up to code. And this, of course, unfortunately started because of the tragedy that happened a few years ago. I think it was up in Berkeley where the balcony collapsed and a lot of those students passed away. So this is for everybody's well-being. And I think it just happened again in Malibu. I heard no fatalities, so I really hope that's true and that everyone's okay. But unfortunately, it's happening. So if you have a property with 3 or more units and those exterior elevated elements, such as balconies, decks, walkways, they have to be inspected. And not only do they have to be inspected, but if they find that something isn't structurally sound or the waterproofing isn't good, you have to get that fixed within a certain time frame, depending on the severity. So I think that does it. We covered a lot, the general rules, our costs, ROIs, the Senate bill. Yes, Kathy, an engineer has to do the inspection, and if anything has to get fixed, then it has to get done, by a general contractor or another company to fix whatever it is. But the engineer has to. And something with that we're included because we have it all. We're a team of engineers, general contractors, and licensed plumbers. We are including that the SB 721 mandatory inspection with your ADU package. So if you sign up and do an ADU with us, we will provide that for that building and give you that report that's needed. Of course, whatever it takes to fix it, if needed, that would be separate. But as far as the report goes, we will include that with your ADU. Paige is asking, how do we set up a time to view our properties for an estimate? Excellent question. Feel free to reach me. You can email me at, and I'll type it in the chat as well. My email is helen@adu-1.com. I'll type it right now. Make sure you have the hyphen or the dash, and it is the number 1. Email me or give me a call. I'll put my direct cell on, as well as our office, in case I'm not at my desk or I'm on the line. You can call the office as well, and they can help you. And we can also meet you at your properties as well, to do a walkthrough or discuss your options. But if you'd rather just kind of have a feasibility report, we can just let us know. Just give us at least about 5 business days to prepare the report. We will run everything for you. Our costs for the allowable ADUs, as well as kind of a market analysis, a pro forma income statement too, so you can see what your potential ROI is. And this is free of charge that we are offering. So feel free to reach me, email me the property addresses. If you do not want to meet yet at the property, just let me know the property address, how many units, and if there are any rooms such as like storage or rec rooms that I wouldn't be able to see maybe from the certain records that we're able to pull up. Just let me know. And if you have any preferences too, like I want all studios or I only want the largest 3-bedroom unit I can get, something like that, just let me know. Kathy is asking, are 300 per square foot? So 300 is around where we start for when they're attached and existing. If it's new construction, it will go up. It'll depend on what it is. If it's a conversion, we can try to salvage what's already there. That helps keeps the cost low. But if it's brand new construction, it's going to go a little higher than 300. But again, that includes, depending on the cost of your ADU, sometimes we're able to include all the plans. But if you don't meet that threshold, the plans will be separate. But our plans will include the structural, architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, Title 24, green building. So all your plans and the full permitting process, just no fees. We do not include the fees or permits or plan check. And then we include the full scope construction, flooring, countertops, finishes, fixtures, toilets, sinks, countertops, stuff like that. So there's only a couple of minor things that we ask you to do, such as appliances, which is also whatever water heater you want. We work with HVAC mini split systems. They're not too expensive, but we'll install all of that for you. So, all right, if that is all for today, and if you still have anything or other pressing questions or anything like that, again, feel free to call me directly, call our office. Our office is amazing, super helpful team that can help you. Give me an email as well, and we can help you with anything needed. We are trying to hold these every week, so if there's anything that we did not cover today or you want to listen more, just let us know. But thank you all so much for joining us today. And if you have any more questions, want some estimates, want to meet out at your properties, just let me know. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.